there, it's James with Carp's Bees, and I'm super excited to show you what we have here today. We have our prototype horizontal hive. So we have been doing some research, looking at some different designs online, and we're thinking about how we could incorporate a horizontal hive into the Carp's Bees apiary. So some of our design principles were, hey, can we use existing deep frames in this and instead of having to create new types of equipment and stuff. So we put something together. It's relatively low cost, but I think it's a really nice design here, and we're about ready to put it in the apiary and actually load it with bees and do some testing with it and see how it goes. So I just want to walk you through some of the features of this horizontal hive and show you what we built here, some of the things that are inside that we had to do to make it work with the bees, etc., etc. So come on, let's take a look inside. All right, so before we jump inside the horizontal hive, let's take a look at what we have on the outside. So first of all, this is completely made of cedar. So it's a cedar box. It's shellacked on the outside here to treat it so it's prevented from rotting. Cedar's already super durable, so it could probably go untreated, but we wanted to seal it up to avoid any water from seeping in through any cracks and getting inside the hive. So that's the first thing. Cedar, treated on the outside, not treated on the inside, obviously, to protect the bees. The other thing that we had here is we have a couple entrances, and what we've created here is just a pretty simple, entrance reducer or closer, just using some stainless steel screws here. And this is actually oak, not cedar, for this little piece of wood here. Just wanted something extremely durable to cover the entrance if we need to do that. So again, to lock this in place, maybe you don't want to use one side of the hive, you only want to have one entrance, you just pretty easily click it down onto that screw there. If you want to open it, you can open it part way, or you can even open it all the way and just kind of lock it onto that upper screw. So, and this swings pretty easily back and forth. I think one note here is if you don't want to kind of have a mark, kind of scrape this on your nice woodwork here, you just kind of pull this forward a little as you swing it. So that's just one note here, not completely necessary, but just a little tip. So, and you do have two of these, so over here you can do the same thing on the other side, so you can open both of these if you want. And then we'll get inside and talk about how we might divide up the inside of the hive to facilitate this kind of setup. The other thing, because of the size of this opening here, you have lots of options. You could put any kind of entrance reducer in here that you wanted. You're not going to obviously be able to use one store-bought. You're going to have to probably build something a little bit custom, but I know they do sell some different types of entrance reducers that would fit right in here. And just to give you an example, let me show you how an entrance feeder would work. So with this hive, you're going to have some different options for feeding. You can use a frame feeder on the inside. Obviously, this lid is not domed or gabled in any way, so you're not going to do any kind of top feeding with jars or anything on the inside, but you can use a frame feeder in there. And then if you want to do entrance feeding, the size of this opening is pretty good for that. So if you have your standard entrance feeder here with your mason jar, you can use a much bigger one obviously than for this, but you can just slip it in there and there you go. So it's pretty stable, and you can just feed your bees that way if you want. Again, or you can use a frame feeder. So there you have that. So that's how that will work. And other than that, a handle, some hinges on the outside. I think if we were to redo this, we'd want to put those hinges on the inside. Again, just a prototype here, so we're going to learn as we go. So we'll think of some modifications for the next version of this. But let's go ahead and get inside the hive and see what we've done in there. All right, let's start with the most popular feature of a horizontal hive, which is, hey, you don't have to lift anything except this lid. And it's on hinges, and it's got these locking brackets here that holds the lid up nice and tight. And so now you can just get in here and work, with your bees. So once you get in here, the first thing you're going to notice is you got a whole bunch of frames. So if this was completely maxed out with no divider boards, no queen excluders, anything like that, this can hold about 38, 39 frames. Now, again, this is a prototype, so we're learning as we go. There's a few things you want to account for in here. Number one is we didn't put any guards on these brackets that are holding up the lid. So you don't want to put a frame too close If you jam it up there, it's going to prevent these brackets from allowing the lid actually to open if you're not careful. But you don't want to interfere with your bracket here. So future design will correct that. But at least for this, it's working. So. All right, so let's talk about some of the other things that you're going to need in a horizontal hive and what we did here. So first thing is we made this to work with standard deep frames. So that's what we're going for. And there's the same amount of space at the bottom of this to basically the floor, the bottom of the box, than you would see in your standard hive. So the bee distance is correct, we believe. So yeah, use your standard deep frame equipment with this horizontal hive, and that's a huge advantage. You don't have to go buy any special equipment or anything. Again, we got to test it, make sure it works with the bees. But I can tell you, since I opened this and I've been just standing here doing some testing the film equipment, even as we've been talking, I've noticed a couple bees have been checking it out. So it seems like they're interested. They probably smell the wax on those wax frames. So the other thing that you're going to need to consider when doing horizontal beekeeping is, in addition to having the frames, you want to understand where the entrance is. So maybe this is just way too big for your initial set of bees, which is probably the case. So you're going to need some kind of divider to separate sections of this. I think that's also called a follower board. So we had to kind of custom build one of those because this is a custom prototype. And I'll just zoom in here for the camera, you can see. So there you see. So again, this is the follower board. You can use this to divide the hive into two, so you could have two hives. You could use it just to divide it and then maybe use the other side for storage or something. But again, you're going to want that follower board to move as the bees grow and expand. You don't want to give them too much space initially, obviously. You want to let them grow at the right pace, but you're going to need a follower board. So that's in here, and you might even want to couple these if you're doing two different hives. So that's something that we built. The other thing is, all right, so the other thing to consider here besides the follower board is if you want to exclude an area of the hive from the queen and just basically make it for honey production, maybe if the bees are entering here, they're having their brood chamber here, but you want to reserve this for honey. You can also create a queen excluder. So basically we took a follower board, cut the center out, and stapled a queen excluder piece to that. So let me just pop this out here and kind of show you how that looks. There you have it. So that's all it is. So there you go. So that'll work for excluding the queen. And again, if you want to do that, you can also, you don't have to use a queen excluder. A lot of people don't use queen excluders. Some people don't believe in them. They think they're honey excluders. I'm not one of those people, but queen excluder can make your beekeeping a little easier. So there you have that. So queen excluder, slide these over. All right, let me just show you that follower board up close and in action. So first thing I'm just going to note is we don't have a perfect solution for lifting this follower board out of the hive, and part of that is because of the design here. We actually designed this with a board going across to hold the frames. In a future design, what we would do is we would make this solid up and down so that this follower board could just come right up and wouldn't need these grooves kind of cut out. But again, this is a prototype and we're learning. So for this design, you just kind of got to move it and lift it that way. So you're going to need a little space to be able to do that. And again, this goes all the way to the bottom of the hive and creates, basically, no gaps for the bees to get through. The other thing I'm going to note here is we didn't put any kind of trap or tray or anything in the bottom of this hive. It's just made from cedar. Again, there's a little bit of gap. Air can come up through this just a tiny little bit. My guess is the bees will propolize this and seal it up. It's not screened or anything like that. So just a note, again, future design, maybe we'll change that. But for our prototype and keep, in the spirit of keeping this lower cost, this is what we're going to test with. So there you have it. So let me just pull back here, take it all in. We're going to do some leveling right now. I'm super excited. We're actually going to put bees into our horizontal hive, and we're going to do this as a 2-hive setup. So on the right we'll have one hive, and on the left we'll have another, and we're using a follower board as a divider on the inside. So let's get in here and do this. I can tell you, in bringing the bees over yesterday evening, they weren't pleased. They were really upset. So we'll see if they're still worked up or a little calmer today. I have no idea. We're gonna find out. And then the other note is it's really hot out today. We're in the 90s and the camera's been having trouble, so I'm sure hoping it doesn't overheat on us. It has done that several times over the past couple days. So let's get rolling. Let's go move pretty quick. So first thing we're gonna do is set this aside. We're going to try to keep these bees close to the entrance. Okay. And it did rain this morning, so this gives us a chance to see what it's like when we get a little water. Okay, so we have a spot cleared for the 5 frames we're going to put in here. So I'm actually going to lift this box up and put it over here, and we can pull the frames and drop them right in. GoPro, stop recording. So the bees are much calmer today so far, but we're just getting started. Make sure we don't let these girls fall off. So of course the camera is a piece of garbage and didn't see me install the right side, but basically went in no problem. The bees are orienting right now, so I'll just show you that. See, they're starting to figure out where to go because the queen's in there. We've closed up the other entrance. That's great. So they're oriented, going to find their queen, and move on in. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see some bees come out and start fanning to alert the others that she's in there. So we'll give them like 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do the other side here. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully the camera stays. We did add an entrance feeder to these bees over here, and they seem like they're chilling out. I did make an additional follower board. I'm going to set this underneath for now, but we might need to put that, what's this? We might need to put this in here, so I'm just going to set it down here for now to limit the amount of space. It's a little much. These are a couple of my weaker nukes. They were late to get developed. I figured they'd be good candidates for this experiment. Alright, so see if we can get these frames out. Carefully pull this up. Alright, so still a resource frame, still honey. They're pulling, I don't know if they're putting it in or taking it out. I think they're putting it in. Well, that's good. I suppose this box is really in the way. I'm going to move it over here for you. a little bit of laying on here. New comb. That's what we were trying to build up. There's some brood there. Looking good. So Queen's in there doing her thing. See if we can see her. Now the last Queen was in the box. We had to shake her in. I don't like to have to do that, but this is much calmer. If we can get her on a frame. Oh yeah, a little bunch of eggs on here and stuff, so yeah, she's looking good. Little brood pattern, eggs all around the edge. See if you can see that. Zoom in. See those little eggs in the side? Nice. Good little pattern. Go. Packed with pollen in here. Just packed on the outside with pollen. Brood in the middle. That's what you want. There's our queen. See her? Nice yellow dot. Doing her thing. Wonderful. Just put her right in. Welcome to your new home. Good stuff. All right, that feels good. That's a lot easier than the last one. And mostly resources on this. Yeah, that's what we got there. So we'll leave that as is. Second thought, we're going to move that one. I'll tell you why in a sec. So these bees open up their home. I'm going to put that resource frame towards this side over here because I want to build honey that direction. But you know, who knows what they'll do. They won't read the book, I'm sure. So we'll take this resource frame. And just move it over here. And kind of push everything in this direction. Okay. And then we're just going to kind of scooch it all in, I think. The theory anyway is that they'll eventually build honey over here on this side of the queen excluder. I don't think there's really room for that frame, no, without jamming up the... So let me go get the feed, and then the last thing we'll do is we'll tap these bees in and close it up and let them do their orientation thing. Alright, so we tapped in the bees, got a little water in here. They'll clean that up though. And we're ready to close it up. And I'm surprised that these bees in this hive are staying on their side and these on this side are staying on their side. We do need to fit an entrance feeder for them. I just want to get them going a little bit more. They're a little light. So that's it. We're gonna maybe come back and put a follower board in here. I'll keep that under here for now. All right, before closing up, you just want to make sure you got good clearance on the sides, and then just close it up. Piece of cake. And then we'll put our stone on top, and that should keep it nice and secure. Maybe we'll add a lock later on. So the thing I'm going to be looking for now is just like on the right side where they're orienting and getting settled. I want to see that on the left side. And now that we've closed things up, I expect that they'll start coming out and doing that same activity. But all right, pretty excited to have this horizontal hive experiment added to the apiary. Looks like we have a thunderstorm rolling in, so we're definitely going to give this horizontal hive a good test. We went ahead and put some feed on the front entrance feeders. Let's see how that works. You know, we might have to switch to an inner feeder. I don't like those. I see bees drowning those all the time. But definitely the bees on the left side are now orienting, so that's good. Everyone's getting settled in. So pretty happy about this. I'll let you know how it goes. 2 nukes introduced, or a little bit lighter nukes, but they seem to take to it right away. Queens are in there. And they had a good head start with nice brood, eggs, larvae, resources, everything. So off to the races. This is James with Carp's Bees. See you later.